So let me start with thanking the panelists to be part of the esteemed panel itself, and to be part of a discussion that everybody is going through, right? Um, and to keep it very relevant to the topic itself, I literally want to take the presentation that Tim just went through, sort of double click on that, right? And maybe we can start with the two CIOs here um, to talk about their journey on the repatriation. What have you seen in your organizations on the repatriation side? What are the things that you are trying to go through as you're going? Jay, maybe we can start with you.
Yep. Thank you for inviting me here. I mean, as far as data repatriation is concerned, you call it like we were talking sometime before. Cloud terminology was being treated just like a pendulum. I mean, sometime before, when the wave was there, the pendulum moves to one side where everybody wants to move to cloud. That was the times we had seen. And now, when the things has been a little bit settled down from the COVID and couple of organizations stability, business stability started coming, where people have started focusing back to their business, and now they are seeing, or they had started re-architecting things where they had started looking for repatriate. I mean, that's the time we are seeing. So, I mean, as far as we are concerned, like, I mean, I'm just talking mostly my experience here. So, we started our cloud journey quite early. I mean, again, that's where, like, from where virtualization has kicked in. From that time onwards, we had utilized cloud based on the need of that particular application. So it is not about like our way of consuming technology is like see the use cases. If the use cases is there, then utilize it. It doesn't mean like if the technology exists, that means I have to go grab it. So, and that's where like I always say like, okay, what is the plus point which normally most of us see from the cloud is like quick provisioning. You don't need to struggle or get into all your, the process of approvals and other stuff before any idea kicks in and which you want to make a POC of. So, I mean, that's where we had started consuming the cloud. Whenever there is an ideation, new ideation, we consume the cloud. We don't need to specifically go through that life cycle of procurement and stuff. Once it comes into a reality, see whether the use cases is there to keep it on the cloud and does it make a business sense out of it. Else, bring it back, do it on your co-location hosting so that like you can do justice to the cost as well and the technology. Yeah, that's my journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Jijy, if you can add specifically once again to with respect to your organization, what are the triggers that has caused you to think about repatriation?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So frankly, I've not thought about cloud repatriation yet. However,
or why you have not thought about repatriation?
Yeah.
Even that is a good reason.
Yeah, so well, I mean, any technology innovation that we do, I mean, personally, whatever I have done in the, in the recent years, have always been basis of three principles. One, is this strategy helping you scale the organization's business growth, support the organization's growth? Second, is it helping your people to be more productive? Is it bringing in efficiency to the organization? And third is it bringing in a superior customer experience? So these are the three principles that I look at when any technology innovation is thought about, right? And, I am a great promoter of cloud, whether you talk about private cloud, public cloud, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud. I have tasted all of them. So right from the time of, the virtualization was introduced, then, the private cloud environment, then public cloud. So I've experienced all of them. So My view is that cloud gives an incredible opportunity to, be agile, meet the business requirements in a very flexible manner. Now that comes with multiple caveats, right? If you go and tell your CFO and CEO and board that I want to save cost by moving to cloud, a year down the line, you are going to thoroughly disappoint yourself and the organization. Second, if you go and tell the organization that, okay, security is becoming a big issue, and we want to move to cloud and that's going to help, somebody else will take care of my security, you are going to disappoint the organization later, because it is like an open mall. The mall may have a great security at the gate, but then the tenants needs to take care of their own security, right? So so absolutely, you're not you can't hand over your problem to cloud service provider when it comes to security. Now, third aspect is compliances, right? And thankfully, the toughest regulators like RBI today has come out with some clear guidelines that how you can adopt cloud. So if you make sure that you follow the regulatory compliance requirements like data residency, auditability, accessibility, and all of that, SLAs, business continuity, then I don't think we are going to disappoint the regulators as well. So I think if you carefully strategize the cloud adoption, it is going to give us phenomenal value, like what he spoke about. You don't need to really go through the months and months together approval process to experiment a new project. You have it immediately available. So the kind of agility that it gives to the technology leaders to innovate is enormous. But I think having said that, before you think about adopting cloud, before you think about moving to cloud, you need to be very clear that what you want to do. And there are various facets of cloud, right? You have applications available as cloud, you have infrastructure pass, so depending on business use cases, right? So I think if you take careful decision, I really feel that there should not be much of need for a repatriation thought.
Pankaj, adding more color from a vendor point of view, right? If you could add color a bit on the workloads aspect of it, and also the kind of discussions you're seeing, either going into the cloud or the repatriation discussion, irrespective of whether they're doing repatriation or not, the discussion you're seeing, the kind of factors that they're taking into consideration when you're talking to your clients. What do you see there?
So basically, see, whenever ultimately it's a use case based, decisions which are made, we have multiple options available in front of us: private cloud, public cloud platforms, community cloud. These multiple options are there, but again, the decisions are made based on a few parameters, which is use case driven, cost, geographical limitations, latency from the end user who are going to access. Once the choices are made, then ultimately it comes how you unlock the value within the platform. It is not a right or wrong decision whether we have to repatriate or not, but ultimately it depends how optimally you have utilized that platform, whether you were successful in unlocking the value which was delivered by the platform. Because we need to understand from a workload perspective, there are different characteristics. Like I can give you examples. LIC IPO, by far India's largest IPO in India, which had highest number of applications to be clocked in flat 6 days of time when it was opened. It was done successfully because it is not a consistent workload which happens for all the 6 days. It had to go through ups and downs. A lot of dynamicity is required within the platform to handle that load. And believe me, in the last day, 70% of the applications were clogged. So that required that tremendous scalability from the platform itself to handle that workload. I'll give you another example. End-to-end vaccination platform, CoWIN, India, right? 1.9 billion registrations have been done till date. And In a day, in a one particular day, highest number of vaccinations, 22.5 million were done. So again, we know what is happening with COVID today. It's not that used immensely, but during that situation, it was an event-driven. Similarly, LIC was in demand and event-driven. So those workloads are pretty much, they demand a lot of agility, they demand a lot of speed to execute. And the third point, which you asked, optimal. See, optimization is a word where a lot of, governance, observability, and management is required. Within the platforms, you see a lot of features are there, but how optimally or how adequately we are utilizing them. Because enabling the feature is one aspect, but utilizing it, enriching the data which is given by the platform, that is another aspect where managed service provider helps. And I can give you another example on that optimal. See, cost or advisor is available with every platform. It is available. It will tell you underutilized, unutilized. You can save your cost by changing the instances, but that is cost from a platform perspective. But you need a human context and expertise to tell you whether this service can run from a third-party system better or within the platform you can optimize it, because it requires a lot of business context, technology context, and risk context as well. It is not simple to just follow the platform guidance. It is a combination of platform plus experience and knowledge. That's how you actually leverage the power of platform.
And just to take that discussion forward, and I think one of the terms that Jijy has also mentioned is the multi-location, right? And there are various factors that you take into consideration when you're looking multi-location. So now all of us know that we are going beyond not just multi-cloud, it's multi-location cloud itself. So how do you see multi-location cloud in your, once again, we'll start with the CIOs, in your organizations? Is that a discussion that is starting up? And why is that discussion starting up?
So I'll pick it up. So especially the kind of business we are into, so we need to be as close to the customer, and wherever customer demands and whatever platform they demands us, we need to be available. I mean, that's the customer requirement today, and if you want to sustain in the business, you need to fulfill that. I mean, there is no choice. And that's where this discussion has started. But, my take on multi-location is, again, a use case based. You can carve out your application, maybe located backend must be running on a central place where you follow all the compliance requirement, all the land of laws, and at the same time still able to deliver the application experience on the edge, closer to the customer. So we are widely spreaded across, and you hardly able to see the differential from a application latency or performance perspective from location-wise to location-wise. Because like most of our application, we try to deliver it via the content delivery network. We utilize those partners who can help us deliver that thing closer to the customer. So I mean, multi-location is also a constraint when the land of law specifically restricts you. For a very simple example, like if I need to, maybe like I'm doing a business in Gulf countries, and if Gulf says like, okay, data has to be locally resides, I don't have much choices. At that particular time, probably I'm a service provider specifically on that particular application. So I need to take my application and follow the laws of that in-country laws of that particular country. I mean, that's where like multi-location makes much more sense. Otherwise, there are various ways to re-architect and handle the situations of multi-location as well.
Jijy, do you see anything different in your organization, any thought process that's different?
So I largely see it from two perspectives. One is business continuity. If you have a set of workload running from one city, and if something happens to say in Chennai, we generally see there is a, flood happening quite often, right? Or, a place where a network outage happens. So it's always better to build your environment in multiple locations, primarily from the business continuity reason. Second, of course, as Jay mentioned, right? I mean, if you are running distributed workloads, which has to serve customers or end users who are spread across different locations, then, content delivery network is a solution which you can definitely leverage. And that's something that we have been always using on-premise environment as well, right? So I would see it from a, business continuity and risk mitigation perspective for a multi-location cloud deployment.
Okay. Jay, I will come back to you and maybe we'll get a vendor angle also on that. Keeping the business continuity aspect to one side, because that's a unique use case itself. But if there's a business reason why you are looking at multiple locations because of the law of the land aspects of things and that, I'm sure that the applications are not running in isolation, right? There is some aspect of talking to each other kind of things that are happening within different applications. While doing that, understanding that not every instance of every application you are going to be putting in every location, what are the issues that you need to be aware of when you are trying to look at that particular architecture?
See, again, I said like it is depending on the application type which you had architected. So normally I would say like if you look at it, the complete tiering of the application, and if it is a multi-tiering application, then probably I would always prefer to keep it at one location itself and split it into modular pieces, which we call it like a software-oriented architecture or microservices, whatever you call it. And then if the whole set of service itself can run from various locations and sync data back, nothing like it. Because at that particular time, you don't need to look at it from a latency and rest of the other stuff, because like that piece will be taken care. But if there is a direct dependency, which we call it like maybe persistency required, such kind of application like front end you are running from one location and back end is running from another location, and there is a huge latency in between, I mean, then it is not a good architecture. So trust me, like it is while you are designing the complete architecture, at that time itself you can take up a call which application needs what kind of like response time. And based on that, like it would be better, like if you have a stack, you deploy it various location. And if it is no syncing required, I mean, that's nothing like it. I mean, that's the real use case to go into a multi-location kind of environment. But if you have anything where like you have to sync the data back, probably that's where like you need to be little do a due diligence in terms of like what kind of latency should I maintain and how should I maintain, so that like application performance ultimately which is getting delivered to the customer should not get impacted. That's my way.
Thank you.
And maybe I can add a point, maybe one more point. Another aspect is cost. Because if you're running a workload of application which has to talk to each other very closely, and there is a lot of data out happening, in public cloud environment, your data out is quite expensive, data in is quite cheaper, right? So for an application, if you have integration layers with multiple subsystems, then it is always a wise idea to bring keep your application closer to the rest of the ecosystem so that your cost is optimally managed. So this is another consideration that one should look at from the cost perspective. And of course, Jay spoke about the performance aspect. You have a digital application, customer-facing application, which has to talk to n number of your operational systems. And if they are all sitting in different locations, the performance can be a big challenge.
Absolutely.
One challenge, one point I will like to bring it here. I don't know how many of you are aware about terminology called data gravity. So this is another terminology which is probably most of us will start realizing, if not realized yet, which we call it, it's a combination of performance and the cost both ways. And the typical point what Jijy just brought here, and especially where CIOs need to start thinking about like what amount of data should I store on cloud in case tomorrow I have to bring that data back, whether that makes a value, cost sense or not. So that is what like the new terminology called data gravity, which is going to come very soon.
New problems to worry about as things progress. Pankaj, I want to talk to you about something that both of the folks have alluded to without directly using the term, is what I call the misconfiguration or configuration related issues, right? As you're seeing and working with clients, how do you ensure that your clients don't, because in their enthusiasm of wanting to be out there as quickly as possible or do whatever thing that they are thinking that they are doing innovatively, how do you ensure that the misconfiguration does not happen so that 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, the latency starts creeping in, latency issues start creeping in, or other regulatory aspects start coming? How do you ensure the misconfiguration is something that you are keeping an eye on?
It again, as I mentioned in my first point, all of the platforms have got enough amount of tools, ammunition to guide you with the best practices, with the right set of configurations which need to be followed. And at the same time, I can give you examples how misconfigurations actually happen. Like in a very particular case, like how do you handle privileged access management? How do you ensure that a user who is not there in the system or who has not even worked on any system for last 3 months need to be deactivated? So, but in a practical scenarios, until and unless you get some inputs and insights from the platform, so there we have access analyzer who can analyze which accounts are dormant, which are trying to use, which are not actually utilizing the permissions which you have even allocated to them. You are given hundreds of permissions to a user, but they have even used only 5 permissions. So then there is no point of keeping or giving those excessive permissions, because that is one of the major reason why breaches are occurring. The another point, see from a from a cloud perspective, because it is very open, it gives you scalability, it gives you flexibility. At the same time, if you don't control it, it gets over the budget. So that's where the automation, how you bring the systems up and down, that's where it is very important key. Similarly, how do you manage the overall cloud estate from a governance perspective is very critical, not only from the cost, but also from the security, performance, and governance, or access management, for example, are very important. And believe me, most of the security breaches which happen are not because this tool was not procured or this door was open, but it happens because of excessive permissions, because of misconfigurations, and because of the data which is exposed publicly which was not supposed to be there. So all of these are major reasons why the actual breaches happen and people are suffering. So misconfiguration is truly a major reason.
Major issue. And I'll take that aspect of it and maybe go back to both the CIOs and talk about the security aspects of it, or potential security aspects of it when you're looking at the multi-clouds and the repatriation. How do you ensure that, maybe you use that excuse of repatriation to revisit the security aspects of things, or ensure that the repatriation is not creating more security issues? How do you do that?
I would pick it up from a different angle. I would say see, none of the cloud service comes with a silver bullet when we talk about security. And mostly if the thought is there in the CIO's mind that cloud is more secure than colo or on-prem, that's a misconception. So always security is owner's job. Trust me, it's an ownership. And very rightly pointed out by Pankaj and Jijy both, see, ultimately governance, observability is very important. Once you have the observability, visibility, you have governance, probably you can control things. And that's where like misconfiguration word, always say it like it is not, it is not a system error. It's basically a human error. So in the whole chain, if you'll see the weakest link, it's human. The people who are managing, probably they don't have that skill. Probably they have skill into their area, may not want or may not knowing the integration challenges, may not be knowing other technology. So it is not something like which is a system is providing a loophole into the whole configuration piece. Probably the person who is architecting, probably the person who is configuring, I mean, he has to be more diligent in terms of bringing things together, stitch things together. But yeah, in the whole chain, observability will certainly expose few things, give you insight so that you can take the right decision on the right point to handle such kind of maybe misconfiguration issue, you call it, cyber attacks, you call it.
I know this is a topic that we can keep talking forever, but I'll leave everybody on a very funny note that Jay reminded me when he was talking about it, and most probably will age myself here. There was a movie called 2001 Space Odyssey. The whole theme of the movie is exactly what you closed out with, saying the weakest link is humans, right? Intentionally or unintentionally, humans make decisions that might create security issues, right? Which require us to be very diligent about how we do that migration, repatriation, or look at the architecture aspect of things rather than just jumping into it, doing it with your eyes open. So with that note, I would like to thank everybody in the panel for their time, and thank you all for the opportunity.
Thank you.